Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you very much for joining us on this week's FOA Live. Excited to connect with you today. And Jennifer Katrulya, co-president of FOA, Rush Olney. Great to see you today.
Yeah, you too. Been a while. Had a misstep last week and had some broken water pipes to deal with. So apologize for missing that. But good morning, afternoon, and evening to everybody joining us wherever you're joining us from. We appreciate it and look forward to the discussion today and for the rest of the year.
Well, and one of the things I actually learned about over the last number of years, I don't have a background necessarily in real estate development or investing or maintenance, and so come from a different family office background. But one of the things that's been very interesting for me to learn over the last decade or two has been of all the fears in life become water. And so all the damages that water can cause, either in a running form and floods or in freezing temperatures and broken pipes and all of that. So for all of you who I know are going through that and trying to deal with it, whether it's in residential, commercial, whatever you're setting, fingers crossed for you that the warmer weather comes soon and that everybody's able to move forward. I know it's been a struggle. So, but thank you again, everyone, for joining. Definitely have a number of things we want to run to today, and glad to welcome Rush back. And lots of really, great things to move forward with. We're going to do some housekeeping as we usually do, and then jump in to a discussion today. I know Rush and I offline have a number of discussions about this time of year. And one thing about getting into a new year, especially the first couple of months of the year, is throughout the year, there's conversations about best practices and about family governance and structure and wealth transfer, all the things that go into, optimizing a family office structure in terms of wealth transfer and just day-to-day operations of whether it's a private family office or private businesses. A lot of the foundational things are very much the same. And so during the year, people experiment with a number of different structures and decide sometimes in quick fashion or over time to make a change, whether it's in-house or outsourcing or hybrid version, whether you're going to move forward as a single family office or multifamily office, and the pros and cons of all of that. But it seems like the start of a new year and the beginning of tax time and maybe some of the colder months while people spend time inside reading more or kind of just shoring things up as you get into the new year kind of becomes a scorecard for how those decisions played out over the last year and the things that are in the positive column and those things people want to work on in the new year. So, and Rush, you and I have talked about this again, but kind of seeing that family offices overall can get a little bit messy. And I know we've been seeing some of that and feeling some of it and having those conversations. So again, as we clear up some housekeeping today, we're going to be very intentional in the weeks and months ahead about hopefully helping to solve for some of that and provide a wide range of resources. And so excited to hopefully do our part in improving and providing support for a lot of you. So first thing is in terms of upcoming events for those in the Northeast area or traveling to the New York area over the next few weeks, we do have on February 1st a happy hour happening in New York City. The information is on our website in the events section. It was sold out, and for two reasons, actually. There are a few more seats available. One I'll point out just for general purposes, if you are registering for an FOA event, please choose the correct registration category. So if you are an FOA member or Resource Council member, certainly please choose those categories. If you're coming as a guest, we do look at each and every RSVP. We want to be respectful of everyone attending. We do need to know who each attendee is because we want to, for safety purposes and just making sure we provide you with a great event. We want to know everyone. So please help us out. Otherwise, we do send you an email. We do want to help get you correctly registered. And thank you for all of your help. Another scheduling changes for those of you who are excited to join us ultimately in Arizona. I know that you're aware that last year we did an event during Phoenix Open Week. And we are excited to be back in Phoenix again this year. It seemed like that was a very, very popular week of dates. And I know that a number of people were struggling to pick the set of events that worked best for everyone. And so in looking at that, there were 3 or 4 conflicts. We are actually not going to host in Arizona during that week. We are looking at some alternate dates. And so you'll see some announcements about that, but definitely excited to be out in Arizona. For those of you who are waiting for that to happen, looks like it'll be in March, early April. We're going to narrow that down and get out some new dates. But some people asked about it having come off the calendar, and that is intentional. And again, we'll be announcing the new dates, and excited to see all of you there. For those of you still going out for Waste Management Week, we are happy to let you know others who are attending as well, get people connected, and there's some fun things going on. So happy to point you in that right direction, and we'll be excited to see you soon. In terms of upcoming private events and other things happening, we have a number of invitations that have been extended by friends and family office members of ours, and others that we are excited to share based on your geography, based on your interests. And so please let us know if you are. First, please update your contact information in our database. So if you get our weekly newsletter, we have been asking to get that updated, and we want to make sure we're sharing that information with you. But if you're someone who's looking to get more involved in your region, or if you're going to be traveling, please let us know. We'll have more information coming out about our peer communities. That's a big focus of ours. Rush and I actually have slated quite a bit of time over the next week and a half to specifically work on getting content out for all of you, more information, very, very specific details about the communities. And among those priorities, we have for each of our peer communities founding councils, which include 10 individuals for most of our communities, 25 for our global impact community. And so those communities range from lifestyle and wellness. We have an athlete and entertainer group. We have an EB5 group. Certainly Next Gen is important for us. We also have, based on popular demand, our FOA kids group, which will turn out, I think, to be a lot of fun. And our at this point, I think we're at 12 peer communities that have been kicked off based on requests. So Rush will be taking the lead on our peer communities, as you may have heard on a prior presentation. And so looking forward to get those out and more information. And on our next show, Rush will certainly be sharing more about that. And 2 shows from now, we'll probably spend the majority of the show talking about those communities. With our next show in mind, we're excited to introduce David Teton, who is an experienced advisor. He's a keynote speaker, investor, mentor to family offices, very, very experienced in private equity, VC, and really working with a range of operating companies. And so I had the opportunity to recently meet David, and am very excited to welcome him as our guest next week. You'll find that Rush will be doing the majority of the interviewing with him, and David will be a pleasure and just brings a ton of experience in the family office space to the table that we're excited to share with all of you. So quick rundown of some of those things. We will continue the updates, and please keep an eye on the FOA website. If you're not, well, if you're on this page, you're likely following it already, and that's how you got here. But super excited again to continue to share information with you. And so Rush, on the housekeeping I shared, if you have any thoughts or things you want to add, otherwise we'll jump into the topic for this week.
Just excited. I don't think I'll be able to attend the waste management, but am excited for everybody that will. I wish I could, but if for nothing else than to escape the frigid cold of Kansas City at this point, pretty much everything in the northern states, from what it sounds like. And I wanted to share, I can't quite get it in there, but go Chiefs. For anybody that's a Buffalo fan, it was a great game. Sorry, but we are moving on, so that's exciting for anybody that's a Chiefs fan. So
there's a lot of big rivalries going on. I know I had some email exchanges this morning where things are heating up into the next week. So it makes for a fun few more weeks here, and then the big lull where everybody wishes already for the next year. So, but great fun, and look forward to continued banter with many of you. So thank you again. And as we continue on with today's show, as I mentioned at the start of the show, one of the things we just, and I don't know, I think it is honestly tax season and the close of the year, where this is the time of year where you kind of get that temperature sense of how family offices are running and where some of the concerns are, and where people are feeling some frustrations or need to kind of assess their situation and improve rather. And, some of it comes down to, as we are working with a lot of the families, whether it's members or friends that we meet in our travels, um, as the opportunities for family offices to be structured and to run in the way that is most convenient for families who are on the move and who are evolving and passing on to future generations, what that structure of family even looks like becomes a conversation point. We used to talk about pretty simply single family offices, which through my evolving years always had that very polished mental image of the very structured environment, the careful job descriptions, the clarity about the internal roles and responsibilities, and really that private hall where the family confidentiality was maintained and everything happened kind of behind the closed doors, and but also the creation of that infrastructure. And so as families were often defined by whether it was that magic wealth breakpoint that got you into the supposed family office club, and how that, whether it was measured by money or by, again, legal structure. Even in that setting, family office, whether you were truly a structured family office or termed your own family office as such because of a certain level of staffing or wealth accumulated or other measures, that is, single family office has come to actually be broadened to cover a number of things that may not actually be a formalized family office. And so whether realizing that means having staffed up a true individually running family office environment, or considering something like a family office, family office historically was meant to be a group of families that came together and grouped and pooled resources to combine costs and to streamline operations with shared resources. And interestingly, over time, that has remained true in a number of settings and for a number of families. And family office, multifamily office also oftentimes now gets looked at with some skepticism because of the number of times that multifamily office has now become a little bit of a marketing play in some settings for whether it's groups of service providers or others who form a multifamily office because it allows entry into places that otherwise might be more restricted. And so it's unfortunate in some settings because a structure that may be very, very well suited for families who are trying to achieve the original intent now has some challenges along with it because of the way it maybe has been used in other settings. So taking a fresh look at the evolution of your family and your family that has the need and want to manage and optimize your own wealth in the current generation, and then responsibly pass it on to future generations, is something we'll be taking a really fresh look at over the next several weeks, and talking about how to take a step back, look at where you are, and then retool if that makes the most sense. And then when we talk about areas of interest and updating your family office, one of the way how Rush and I actually met originally is through a working relationship where he has experience in a wide range of things: alternative investments, real estate, EB5, you've heard us talk about on a number of other shows. And so when you're thinking about a family's investment approach and how you want the family to move forward and in what business areas, there are opportunities that either didn't exist at one point or have morphed over time. And one of the things that Rush and I, you and I have been experiencing over the last year is actually, as families are operating in a more global environment, or choosing to move to the US from other countries or acquire property and just do more things on a global level, the international tax requirements, the impact that can have on family office structure, and the way that even those who again have had longtime family offices are getting bitten now by not necessarily looking at current rules today and making sure that even traveling children, et cetera, are compliant and not kind of triggering some kind of tax impact. So I know you're seeing a lot of that. Any comments you want to share, and kind of even talking about our path forward through FOA?
Well, and I think to your point about the beginning of the year being a good place to kind of step back and not only reassess and reevaluate, but take care of any of those hanging chads or anything that may have been pushed to the back burner, and going through those lists to see if those should be on the back burner and continue on, or if you can just sort of take those topics off completely. Jennifer and I have several smart sheet documents that we are going to be going through, and it's one of those things where just reevaluating where you're at now as a family office and really as individuals, as well, and sort of restructuring and re-ranking what is important, what should still remain on the list to be addressed, and then excuse me, on the investment front. I think it's very interesting. A lot of the conversations that I've been having are sort of putting investments together and looking at them more as separate arcs. So the interest rate phenomenon, if you will, or very quick increase and stabilizing at this level created a lot of opportunities, but those opportunities may or may not be fruitful ventures depending on what time period you're looking at or how long you're wanting to make investments for. And so there are groups that are quite nimble, and are looking to redistribute and build businesses around what's happening today, and that arc of investment may be 3-5 years, and there's other groups that are probably looking for longer range and more stability in what they're putting time and assets into. And so really looking at your portfolio and sort of judging and trying to categorize what investments warrant the most time based on how long you think those investments will take to bear fruit, but also how long that market may be relevant or present, are some things that I think are paramount to being able to rank what the priorities are quarterly, annually, and really in that kind of 3 to 10 year range. So
Well, and Rush, you and I saw too last year, and in the course of our working with so many family offices, where longtime multi-generational family offices, who were playing the interest rate game, and who had other long-term situations that maybe were more difficult to adjust as there were economic changes that weren't necessarily foreseen. Liquidity became a big conversation last year, that we wound up having with a lot of families who are now really trying to figure out how to adjust and better insulate against those types of situations going forward. And so that's something, again, in the next several weeks, we're really excited to spend more time on. As a reminder, we don't give formal advice on any of these shows, so please see your own professionals, but really looking at the volatile months ahead, and wide range of variables, and will be a big part of our focus for the next several weeks, as we look to really hone in on best practices and structure in each of the key areas for family offices. So excited to cover all of that. And that comes down to as well, when we think about the structure of your family office, whether it is single family office, multifamily office, internal hires, outsourcing, really the incredible need to update policies, procedures, staffing. Do you have the team you need in place to appropriately manage your family office? One of the things we've been seeing a lot recently is as compensation rates have changed in the market for family offices who haven't necessarily kept up or haven't kept up in awareness of what the level of individual needed to be able to competently run a family office of X size, what that needed to look like in terms of compensation rates, benefit structures, et cetera. And so we're seeing a lot of times is family offices hiring based on the perceived correct, I'll put that in quotes, compensation levels, and sometimes getting individuals who just really do not have the experience to run the family office that they're in. And oftentimes they're doing it with very, very little oversight. And so one of the things I know, Rush, we saw this a number of times over the last year where we speak at a lot of events, we do a lot of traveling throughout the year. And a lot of times it's the CIO who has been, and this is no discredit to the CIOs, by the way, but the CIO who is wearing all hats in the family office, who's been asked to be the primary bookkeeper, the assistant, the concierge, the investment manager. And as a result, as we're having these conversations or listening to these individuals, our radar starts to go up and we're like, we just heard 3, 5, 10 things that you just know from the course of the conversation would benefit from additional tax conversation or investment advice or simple best practices, or even is the work getting done so that the family office can provide information about performance and about current cash flow and other things to the families. And yet, if we are not in touch with the families, or even if we're connected on LinkedIn, but there isn't a natural path to having those conversations. And oftentimes as family members who may, be very busy or traveling or other things, this is a great time to come back in and kind of do an assessment of your family office, kind of a family office compliance audit, a current status of your staffing, of the completeness of the work and reporting within your family office, and a good time to level set because we are seeing a number of things that may not make it into communications that families really, really would benefit from hearing. And so that's part of what we'll be covering over the next several weeks, as well as best practice, policies, procedures, governance. And, we mentioned this on a recent show too, the implementation of the robust systems and technologies, and making sure that cybersecurity, personal security, and other areas are addressed. Strategic partnerships, Rush, we see this all the time, where in the communities that we are a part of, there's the wall where the family offices, who it's such a pleasure that we get to spend time with all of you, but that everyone's kind of filled in. And understandably so, with the camp of professionals that you turn to day for your advice. And I think, Rush, what we're seeing is where as needs are changing, the people that you've dealt with for a long, long time may not have the expertise you need anymore, or they may not have focused in on the niche areas. And so I guess if you comment on a number of even the Resource Council members who we have the pleasure of interacting with, but how those niche needs are changing and evolving.
Well, and I think some of that goes back to the globalization and the interest and the investment abroad it has and will continue to be more prevalent in family offices across the board. And so when those occur, and Jennifer and I have worked through a handful of these cases with other families or groups, it's not always a kind of one-to-one, and so while you may not require a new staff member or new members or team members to your family office, getting proper consulting and getting proper input on how to address those early on. That's one thing, as well as Jennifer and I end up coming in at times and I guess being firefighters. So starting those conversations early and often, and if that's something that your family office is looking into or interested in, understanding by geography, country, relationship, business structure, or deal structure, what you can expect, and there'll always be small things that can and need to be addressed along the way, but you can get an overarching understanding of what the requirements will be on both sides, both for any partnerships overseas or for you here in the States.
And so with those as sort of summary items, we are really, really excited about the weeks ahead. Rush and I will be head down for the next week and a half working on the upcoming master classes. So if you are not already, again, on the email list, I always appreciate the direct messages we get from a lot of you, and also the request for information and the request for new resources and new education. So again, March 10th, or the 11th rather, will be the first day of our next master class, but we will be sharing a number of pieces of information, resources, etc., in the weeks between now and then. So really the different components that will become part of the masterclass series. And once we begin those masterclasses, they will repeat. We will have members only access to a number of best practice topics as well. So really, really looking forward to bringing that to you. And we will be including in that a number of special guests with expertise in a range of areas. And so really, really robust offering that we're looking forward to bringing to all of you. So as we get to the end of the show today, again, we look very, very, very forward to inviting David Teton to join us next week. Think you'll be thrilled by the information that he has to share. It's been a pleasure getting to know him over the last week or two. And any other questions any of you have, we look forward to your messages. Rush and I do go through them. Very excited about this show, and kind of week to week, the interaction has been a lot of fun, and so excited to move forward. Any questions anyone has, we look forward to the exchanges, and thank you very much. Have a great rest of your day.
Thanks, everybody. Have a great week.